He is crazy. He is old. But is he a coot? It's time for the Crazy Old Coot. Okay, so let's see if we can do Ryzen Master here. So we go up here to Ryzen Master, and yeah, we want to make changes. Oh no, we can blow up your computer. Okay. So here we got the home, and then we got creator mode, which I have no idea what is. Game mode, profile 1, which is what I want. Okay, so in profile 1, we got auto overclocking. Now you can switch this, but precision boost overdrive doesn't really do a whole lot that I've seen. So you go auto overclocking, and way over here hidden, you see this boost override? The default is 100. Yeah, 100. So, but we're gonna boost it all the way up to the max, 200. And then we have this, which is total socket power. And we don't mess with that because we're gonna control socket power using sustained current limit of 144. If you're using a B450 or a B350, you want to lower this down to like 110. And this is peak current limit. Again, if you have a B450 or a B350, you may want to limit this to like about 130. Okay, so this looks like we're controlling the voltage here to max. Nah, this thing goes crazy. They should have this so you can actually do something. You see it doesn't do anything. So, but you should be able to lock your voltage. So, and then you hit apply, and it's applied. And then you can go in here and run Cinebench. And we're going to hit run. Now I've already run these tests without the relive going, and I'll show you at these ends. I just want to show you that it does work. The R20 is tougher because, and I'll get into that a little bit later. So Cinebench, you see how much drop off there is, because this is what I ran before with relive off, and this is what I've run with relive on. So we're losing about 125 points here. And no, we don't want to save that. So we want to do Cinebench 20. And we're just going to run the multi because the single cores, I ran the single cores, so you'll be able to see it. You're getting the shorter version this time because the longer version didn't come out. Actually, I had 5060. So this must have been when I was running in this mode. So we'll just minimize this. Yes, my desktop is a mess. And half the times I can't find what I want. We don't need utilization. We don't need that. We don't need that. We don't need that because we're not going to look at that. And Vega 56 we don't need. Fans we really don't need. And then we got temperatures and voltages. But this is the voltages. Okay. So we're going to hit run here. Multi-core. Okay, clear. Okay, one of the things you want to watch out for is this temperature. You don't want to get what this hits 90, it starts cutting back. We're drawing about 120 watts. We're doing about 4100, 30 sprint log, and what's that? About 120 watts. So that's not bad, because these temperatures are going to be good. There's this one you want to watch out for. I've got a Noctua NH-U14S, which is one of the best coolers on the market, and I've got an aggressive fan curve on it, but then again it's Noctua, so it's still quiet. So we're doing good. And yeah, you see it's only going to get about 82, 83 maybe if he gets lucky. Nope. So that's with a power run. You can check everything out. What do I get for max wattage here? Max wattage was 120, which is cool, very cool. That's less than 100 amp draw. So that's how you do auto. Let's double check, make sure there's nothing I want to go over here. Profile 1 is auto. So we went over these voltages. Oh, and this is if you want to turn multi-threading on or off. They give you that option. Okay, now I'll go into manual overclocking. Okay, there's one more thing I want to show you. You see how we're running real high voltages right here? And if we go to utilization, we're not running hardly anything. So why are we doing this? Well, it turns out there are some background programs that do it, and I found that Steam is one of those. So if I exit Steam here, then hopefully the voltages, you see they drop right off. This is a problem. They're going to have to address it. I don't know how, because when you're not running just background programs, they shouldn't be driving the voltages up that high. So hopefully they'll get that fixed in a few bits. Well, I'm back. Oh, a lot happened since the last time I was doing the audio overclock. Okay, this is the manual overclock screen. And so this morning I went to church, came back from church, played some World of Tanks, and the World of Tanks server crashed. So I said, okay, that's a sign. Get back to work and get this video wrapped up. So I made sure everything was set up before I played World of Tanks. So I was running this setup, and so I run R15 to make sure that was running good before I started my video, and it was. And then I ran R20 and got halfway through R20, boom, crashed completely out. Rebooted, had to reboot the computer. It came back to life, and I had been messing around with this, and I thought, well, instead of 38125, maybe I had it at 3875. So I set it to 3875 and then ran R20 again. It crashed again, but this time it only crashed to Windows, and I'm going, okay, what is going on? So I fire up my hardware monitor, and then I think I ran R15. Now TMPIN temperature in 7. This is the most important temperature, okay, because this is actually your CPU temperature. and it's CPU, and in quotes T, capital T, CTL slash capital T die. So this is actually the temperature that the CPU reports to the motherboard to control the CPU fan. Okay, you want to keep that below 85, and I know I had hit at least 90. The other thing is I was all doing this in a hot room. It was like 83.5 degrees Fahrenheit, and that's 28 degrees centigrade for everybody else. So I fired up the air conditioner. I pulled the cover off the computer just to let the heat out, and I'm looking there and I go, heat rises. You know, it's got nice 2 vents there, and I thought that was enough, but obviously it wasn't. And so my back system fan was only inches away from my CPU fan, going in the same direction, and I go, I really don't need that there. That CPU fan can suck in enough outside air on its own. So I took the back fan, which is also a Noctua fan, so it's nice and quiet, so you can run it a lot faster, and I put it on the top for an exhaust fan. So now all the heat that builds up in the front, because that's where the heat from the GPU gets sent up. So I sent that up, and now that's set, and I put everything back together. It's still around 80 degrees here, and I ran a bunch of stuff, and then I never got above 84. I think was the highest I read, and that's good. You just don't want to hit 90. Preferably, like I said, once you get above 85, you're in the yellow zone, and 90 is the red zone. So always when you're overclocking, you want to keep an eye on this temperature. So now back to the overclocking guide. So this turns on and off your modes. So we want to be in manual mode here. Okay, so once you get here, now this button here, if this is green, then all your both CCXs and all your cores are locked together. So if I go in here and change it to 6,000, they all go to 6,000. If I change it to 4250, they all go to 4250. So if you turn this off, now these two turn green. These are independent controls for your CCXs. So your CCX0 and your CCX1 are now independent of each other. So if I wanted to change this to 4200, just the CCX1 will run at 4200. The CCX0 is going to run at 4250. Now this is about the best I've got it. I mean, I tried running 4275 and it ran R15, but R20 it crashed. Now if you kick up the voltage here a little bit, you might be able to get away with it, but I figure with what little difference there is, it's not going to matter much. So that controls this. Now this, you can also shut off cores, but you've got to shut them off together. So these two cores and these two cores, they gotta, they gotta match. Otherwise it spits up. I was hoping to like do just 2 cores on CCX0 and 4 cores at CCX1. Keep CCX1 at a lower clock, and then clock the hell out of CCX0. Now I did go do this just to see how fast I could get just two cores in one CCX, and I got over 43, like 43.25. Had to push it. I was just seeing how high I could go, because actually I think for a 6-core gaming CPU, this setup would be great, because if you could run these like at 4400 and these at 4200, you'd have 2 cores, 4 threads that are really fast to handle the bulk of the work, and then you'd have another 4 slower cores to handle, the rest of it. And it probably would work really well, but I don't know if they could do that. Pipe dream. So anyways, this is what I come up with. So again, when you're doing this, you're going to want to start at, like 4100, get your baseline, and push them up a little bit at a time. Like I said, to find out where you can go. This is where I ended up. You could probably start at 4200 on all cores and then go up from there and see what you could do. And the other thing is your voltages. How high do you feel comfortable? Some people will run it at 1.4. I mean, the default, if you're running in auto, it's like 1.45, but when it goes into load, it drops way down into like normal, 1.3. But for me, I'd rather keep things a little cool and keep it at 138.125. So again, once you got this, and of course this is simultaneous multi-threading, on or off, SMT. So we're gonna leave that on because it's hit or miss whether it helps turning that on or off in gaming, and it definitely hurts in productivity work. And again, so once you get it to where you want it, you hit apply and test. Now again, sometimes depending what you're changing, it's going to ask to reboot, and you say yes, and when it's done rebooting, it asks to go back into Ryzen Master, and of course you say yes, and then it'll come back and do the stress test like this. So once you get done the stress test, we're gonna run Cinebench R15 just to make sure it's stable. And I'm only going to run it once, but when I do these tests, I run it like 3 times right in a row. Bang, bang, bang. Because I want to make sure it's stable. So once R15 is done running, we will go into Cinebench R20. Now, again, this is a lot more brutal than R15 because I've had stuff stable and everything else and try to run R20 and it crashes. Okay, so again, I would do this like 3 times in a row to make sure it's stable. And then we fire up hardware monitor. Put it over here. Put that over here. We're going to hit run. And now we're going to watch. We're at 79. So again, this is important. The other thing you want to see is what your wattage is. And it's right around 120. That's good. That's safe. The RX 3000s. So this is a 3700X. This runs power wise like my 2600. So these are really good CPUs. So I would not worry about putting a 3700X in a B450 board, whereas I wouldn't put a 2700X in a B450 board. So what did we max out at? 81. So we're good. Like I said, I was obviously, I always double check these things. I was brutalizing it. I think I ran Firestrike, and then I went in and then ran like 5 R20s in a row, and I was able to get it up to like 84. So that's good. So to wrap this up, you put it in manual. You decide if you want to go all core or if you want to clock your CCX is separate. This is where you control your voltages. I would start at 1.35 and see if that works works with the speeds you want to run your CPU at. I'd go up to 1.38, this temp voltage. I would not go to 1.4. And then you got your simultaneous multi-threading switch. So, which is better? Auto overclocking or manual overclocking? Well, let's go look at the clean charts runs I did with no background stuff, and we'll take a look. Okay, so these are my clean runs in all the on 3 tests. Okay, in Cinebench R15 in auto, which is what we have here, it scored 2131 multi and a 203 single. In manual overclocking, it scored 2,222 in multi and 201 in single core. To put that in perspective, that is the manual scored 0.4% higher. That's 0.4% higher than the auto, and the auto scored 0.1% faster in the single. In R20, the auto scored 4,923 in multi and 502 in single. In manual, I messed up and had to go back and catch this. It scored 5,060 in multi and 493 in single. And that is, so the manual won the multi by 0.3% and the auto won the single core by 0.2%. And then we Firestrike, and we're only going to look here at the physical score. The auto overclocking scored 24,644, and it was at 78.24 frames per second. And in manual, the manual scored 24,884 for a score at 79 frames per second. Yes, 0.76 frames more, which is a 0.1% victory for the manual. So question is which is better, the manual overclocking or the auto overclocking? Well, the auto overclocking is nice. It has one flaw: you can't control the voltages. It's whatever the CPU decides, and I don't like that right now, because I've seen like 1.47 volts, and that's high. So the problem with manual is it runs at those frequencies all the time. It doesn't throttle down. When it's idle, obviously it doesn't push it as hard, and it's so you got 6 of one and half a dozen of another. It's kind of like pick your poison. Right now I'd probably go with my manual, just because I know what the voltages are running. If they fix the auto so you can lock down the voltages to, you know, a certain, not to go higher than, then that would probably be the way to go. But for simplicity, for most people, obviously auto overclocking is easy. You hit the button for auto overclocking, you set it to 200, and you hit apply, and you run. I mean, it don't get too much simpler than that. So for somebody who doesn't have the expertise and doesn't have the patience to sit there and go 25 megahertz at a time, auto clocking is the way to go. So this is your Crazy Old Coot wishing you a good evening. Now, where did I put that pixel tank?